So who is Uranus? Before we get to the typical astrological details, let's look at the actual mythology. Because in there, we can find a lot of the kernels of astrological lore. As some of you who are listening may know, many people would retitle Uranus as Prometheus. And there's a number of good reasons for this. Prometheus is one of the most intriguing characters of mythology, particularly within Greek mythology. A Titan, he was the god of prophecy, and according to some accounts, the creator of humankind itself. He is most noteworthy for stealing fire from the gods and giving it to humankind. He was then, for this, punished by Zeus to be bound to a rock with unbreakable chains in the Caucasus Mountains. And there, every day, his liver was eaten out by the fearsome Caucasian eagle. And because he was immortal, he would regenerate his liver, and the sequence would repeat daily, not unlike the fate of Sisyphus, who was cursed to push a boulder up a hill every day, only for it to roll back down again. Eventually, Prometheus was liberated from his imprisonment by the sacrifice of Chiron, the wise centaur and teacher of medicine and magic. Other accounts say Hercules freed him from his chains. But either way, he is, according to myth, now free. So we have several themes here, kind of all rolled up into this kind of short story. First, there is the theft of fire. This is an act of rebellion, particularly the giving of fire to humanity. That was the real crime here. And so within that, we also see that the fire itself is representative of technology. One could argue that it is a kind of technology, at least when it's in the right hands, or within hands who are able to kind of create it or harness it. Then again, we have this theme of liberation. Prometheus was imprisoned and then freed. And then lastly, we have this matter of his liver, which may seem a little obscure to some people. The liver is an organ that is associated with eyesight. In fact, liver disease can harm your eyes, even blind you. Alcoholics sometimes are known to have eye problems or even go blind. And the idea of sight or foresight or far sight is very important. Prometheus literally means far-seeing. And that is partly why he has that title of God of Prophecy, because he is able to see ahead, either remotely viewing things or, has that kind of intellectual capacity to see how things are going and kind of predict the outcome. Now, the liver also is the only organ in the human body that regenerates itself, and so is a symbol of immortality itself. And to further emphasize this theme of immortality, there is within Greek myth legends of a giant who is similarly enchained in the Caucasus Mountains for stealing the water of life. Now, there are also arguments that Uranus should be called Uranus. And that is because Uranus is a sky god, or a god of the heavens, or the night sky, or outer space. And Uranus in astrology is often associated with astrologers. Astro, the root of astrology, means stars, and the stars are situated in the heavens or the night sky. Uranus, unlike Prometheus, was not a very friendly entity. He was very much like Saturn. He consumed his children in order to retain his power, and was kind of something of a cosmic tyrant or demiurge, or archon. Sort of a malevolent kind of figure that the other gods had to rebel against. So in that, we can see Two different kind of takes, and I think this is important within all of astrology, really, is that these planets aren't just the respective gods of their namesake, but are kind of collections of multiple different stories. Neptune, for example, is also the old man of the sea, or sirens, or mermaids. Venus is also kind of associated with Hephaestus, at least with the sign of Libra. Anyway, I could go on, but point being, Uranus is not only Uranus, but also Prometheus. So we have on one hand, this planet is associated with rebellion, liberation, technology, prophecy, the ability to assess situations and predict the outcome. It is also associated with disruption, chaos, collapse, explosions, things that are generally, not desirable, unless it is, a cage that we're wanting to explode or collapse, and thus letting ourselves or whatever has been encaged free. So there's kind of there's two sides to Uranus. One in which will liberate us, and the other one which will cause a lot of chaos and disruption, which can be very uncomfortable. Now, within one's own birth horoscope or natal chart, Uranus will really only become of importance if it is within alignment to other planets. But having said that, its placement within its respective house is one of the first things you'll want to look for. And that house that it's in will be the area of life which is most likely to be disrupted, revolutionized, radicalized, or suddenly transformed by the other transiting planets as they aspect Uranus. But like I said, the outer planets seem to act a bit like fixed stars. They're not really that important unless they're really showing up by being in close alignment to the birth chart. So if Uranus is conjoined your sun, then it's definitely going to be playing out in your life. And instead of the occasional and sometimes rare transit of Uranus, it will be playing out in a number of ways and much, much more often. Uranus takes a long time to travel through the zodiac, so you don't really hear about the Uranus return as you do with other planets, especially Saturn. But there is the Uranus opposition, which occurs in the 40s of an individual. And this time period can be naturally revolutionary, radicalized, innovative, novel, or just disruptive. However, genius is one of the key possibilities during a Uranus opposition, and there are many thinkers, from Jung to Newton and others, who thought up their most original ideas or discoveries or inventions at that time. So while for some people it might be a midlife crisis or time of upheaval, for many others it's a time of invention and genius. Well, as always, I feel like there's more to say, but that's probably a good point to come to a conclusion here. I hope you found it to be worth your time. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and also have a look through my other videos. There, by the time this is out, there should be a Uranus in Taurus video where Uranus will be transiting for the next 7 years. So check that out. And thanks for watching.